Loren, you had 2 kids at the age of 18, or by the age of 18.
Yeah.
What did that teach you that no classroom could?
I'd say, firstly, life skills. You have to grow up. There's no choice. Besides the fact that I moved out at 16 as well, you don't have anyone else there that you can rely on that's going to pick the pieces up. It's you. You're the be all and end all of the house at that point, the family, the mold that keeps it together.
Oh, what was it like growing up that quickly?
So I feel like I grew up previous to that. I was always ahead of my years previous to me having kids. I had left school at 14, was in a relationship and had fell pregnant at 15. So it had all happened way earlier than normal life happens. So I think at that point, it was, I'd made my bed. I knew that what I was involved in, what I was into, it wasn't a shock at 18 that where I was sitting there with 2 kids. I had got myself into that situation. So, yeah.
And I was going to ask the question, was it difficult? It was obviously, there must have been difficulties. What do you think was the most challenging thing about having 2 young uns before you were 18?
I would say perception. So the perception you have from everybody else, what you think everybody else is thinking of you. When you're pushing a pram down the road looking no older than 14 at that, back then, it wasn't like what girls are today where they've got loads of makeup on and things like that at 14. They look like they're 18. I generally looked like I was 14 when I was 18. Pushing a double buggy down the road, and you know what some people think of you, and friends, parents. It's the perception that you feel rather than the reality of the situation, I think.
And at that point, do you feel like you were sort of surviving, or do you think that was like making you into someone, the person you became, or you are?
I think a bit of both, but I would say first and foremost surviving. I'm not going to sit here now and say it was easy, because it was extremely hard. It was only, I think, when I got to about 21 that I realised that had shaped me into the person. But during the midst of it, it was pure survival mode.
You said that you left school at 14.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Because people don't ordinarily leave school at 14. That's not, what would that have been?
Again, I was always older than what I was at that time. My friends were older. I had a boyfriend that was older, hence the children. And I thought I had better things to do with my time than be in school. At 14, I thought I was an adult and I had it all figured out. Clearly I didn't.
You could argue that you did, because where you are today is where you are today, What was it about school that you didn't feel like you fit in there?
I think there was lots of different things about school. I think growing older, I've now realised that there was a lot of things where I was different. So my brain goes 1,010 miles an hour. Sitting in a classroom with 30 other kids and a teacher that we've all got to learn at the same pace really wasn't for me. I didn't feel like I wanted to be there. Again, a lot of my friends were older and things like that. Say some of them had left school or were leaving school. It was a kind of, it just didn't fit for me. Being in a school environment just didn't work for me.
And what about it specifically? Obviously there was, I've had the fortune of coming to see you last week and having a good chat with you where you are now. But you're, and we're similar in many ways that our brain works different to a lot of other people. And what is it about that made you feel like school wasn't for you? Obviously, everyone trying to learn at the same pace, but I guess that's the same for everybody.
Yeah.
So what was it specifically for you that you thought, do you know what, I'm done with this?
I think, in all honesty, it got to the point where it just had a complete lack of my attention with regards to wanting to go to school, showing up for school. I would do, everything I could not to go to school. In the end, I would just tell my mum, I'm not going to school. And at that point, when you're in secondary school, how does your mum physically get you to school? I'm a parent. I've had the same issues with my children at times. How do you physically get them into school? You can't. Obviously, again, I had an older boyfriend, so it was, I'm not going to school. I'm going out with him for the day or whatever it was. And pretty much I was in control of my life at that point, which swings and roundabouts. You want them to have control of their own life, but equally they've got to have direction. And that's what I probably didn't have.
Loren, what did you do between, your early 20s and starting the alternate provision that you've put on now? What was the journey between sort of being 18, 20, 21, two kids, and now being the epic woman that you are, with loads of people, loads of young people and students coming to your, what is an incredible alternate provision centre?
My early 20s, I had left a volatile relationship with the children's dad. And it was an awful situation at the time. But I was lucky enough to get a job with somebody who really believed in me. So I went to college. It was only my functional skills, English and maths, but I left school at 14, so I didn't do my GCSEs or get any of those. And from then on, I kept wanting more. So I got a different job and it was slightly better than what my last job was. And then I went into a bit better role in that job. And then I got the opportunity of buying a deli nearabouts where we lived. Obviously, coming from burger vans and things like that, I enjoyed the social side of it. I loved the customers, the banter that you got, meeting all the different people. So I did that for about 4 years. I absolutely loved it, but equally, I was one person, I couldn't take it any further. So I sold it. And I made a good bit of money on it. And then I invested into a company called, well, I'm not even going to say what that was called.
Okay, that's fine.
But
let's do that.
I invested into a company and I really believed in what they was doing. It was training, it was helping young kids like myself, so that didn't get on in school, didn't fit into that box. Not only young people, it was helping older people in construction and forming different paths. And I loved the idea of it. Unfortunately, a month later, it went into liquidation.
Hang on, let me hold you there.
Yep.
So what you've done, let me just summarise that. What you've done is you've got a job, you were a mum, then you got a job, then you went through and got a better job, then you got a better job. So essentially you worked your way up, and then you became an entrepreneur, started your own business in the deli. And from conversations that I also know, you took on youngsters and taught them what it was to have a good work ethic and turn up and be really good at their job and, love their job and love what they do. Yeah. And then this opportunity came along for you to invest in what looked like was an incredible training sort of provider. Yeah. And that didn't go so well. So talk me through how that, not what you invested, because I'm not really invested. I know it was some amount of money that was not a small amount of money. Yeah. But yeah, it went into liquidation. How did they get from where your investment or even before, you know, what attracted you to that, apart from them doing good work with young people?
So for me, I was a mum young. I've got kids. At that point in my life, my kids are in secondary school and struggling with school. One of them, I had to take him out and homeschool him because it was horrific. So what they was doing, or what it looked like they was doing, was everything I would want to be involved with. Unfortunately, it was a bums on seats exercise. You know, it was in through one door, and unfortunately they weren't coming out through the other door. So that's not sustainable. And the company ended up going a month later. Had I have known 6 months previous what was in the pipeline, would I have invested? Absolutely not. Would I have invested in a similar business that stands for the same thing? Absolutely. Which is why I then created my own. Because, yeah, I lost a lot. Yeah, it hurt. But equally, it was the business model that I fell in love with, not the people that was making it or the people that tore it down.
You seem like a really a person-driven person, like a relationship-driven person. Just having met you, like, for, you know, last week for a few hours, yeah, it was very evident that all the people around you really want to be around you, and you really want to be around them. So going from investing to liquidation, you said it's a bums on seats exercise. Now, what does that? Talk me through what that looked like before it sort of went big tong.
So, again, perception's everything. You can make things look like everything's going swimmingly well, and it's growing and it's doing all the things that it should be doing. But in reality, if the quality and the compliance isn't there, then it's not working. To me, outside of looking in before I invested, it was great. All the people they was training up, and they was getting jobs at the end of it, and these kids were getting qualifications that probably wouldn't be getting qualifications had they stayed in school. But actually, in reality, that wasn't what was happening. The people weren't getting their qualifications. The kids were leaving with no certificates, no qualifications that they had worked years for. And that wasn't fair, let alone the fact that financially it got itself into a situation it couldn't quite unpick.
And I guess rewinding again, for those people who don't know, so because there will be some people listening and watching, for those who don't know what an alternate provision is, what alternate provision is, can you just explain that in a nutshell for us, and explain why it's important?
So an alternative provision is a place where students can go to that don't necessarily fit inside the mainstream school box, or SEMH school, or any of the other specialised schools. Not every child fits in that. So they'll come to us and they'll learn practical skills. So we'll teach them construction, personal development and wellbeing. We are very heavy on the wellbeing and life skills because a lot of these students need it. A lot of the students that we have aren't your everyday average student. They might look like it, but they might have lived a life that most 40-year-olds don't see. They might have ADHD, autism, maybe a combination of both, and generally sitting in a classroom, the same as I was, with 30 other kids and a teacher telling you what to do, isn't quite right for them. Just different learning styles, playing with them. Mainstream schools do not have a resource full of teachers that they can just pluck out of a bag and stick in with all different students. With smaller groups, that's manageable. You can do that. And a lot of the students we have, that's what they want. They want more one-to-one. They need more one-to-one. And that's where we come in.
We sort of touched on what kind of young people come through your doors, but What do you think they need most? Or what are they often missing?
Confidence. I think that's the most thing I would say they are needing and missing. And I would even begin to say that that's been knocked throughout over a period of time. Maybe not necessarily by the school, but maybe life has knocked their confidence. And I do find that a lot of them will come to me and their confidence can be so low that that's the first battle that we face, where we have to try and get into them that actually you can do this. You absolutely can get them grades.
Just a quick one. Give me a second to tell you about the proud sponsor of the Hodcast, Site Ready Solutions. In construction, a world where time is tight and quality matters, there's no room for passengers. Site Ready Solutions are changing the game. They're not just getting people into the industry, they're getting them ready to deliver from day one. It all starts in the community, attracting local people who might never have thought of themselves being on a construction site. Then they're given real training, hands-on, hard graft, and to high standards. They're placed where they're needed the most, with the right mindset, skills, and the ability to be productive from day one. Then, importantly, they're retained through ongoing support and mentoring through progression. Because Site Ready Solutions don't just build workers, they build teams, they build trust, and they build futures. From street to site, they're helping everyday people become site-ready professionals, productive, prepared, and proud from the very first day they step on the job. Site Ready Solutions, local people, real skills, day one impact. Visit sitereadysolutions.co.uk and see how they're rebuilding the future of the construction industry, one person at a time. Thanks for listening.
I had a student not long ago that said to me, Loren, how am I going to do my GCSEs? 3 years worth of work in 3 months. And I said to him, you're absolutely right. How are you going to do this? Well, we sat and we worked together. Well, he didn't have 3 years worth of work. He was way further ahead than what he thought he was. But that's because over a period of time, he's been led to believe that because of the time that he's missed off school and because of illnesses and certain other issues that he's had, that's absolutely detrimental to his learning, and he's 3 years behind. Actually, he wasn't. He has learned a lot throughout that 3 years. And it does just go to show that confidence and knocking somebody's confidence is a massive thing that, we are capable of, whether it be adults and especially children.
And how do you build their confidence? What are the nuts and bolts of that? What does that look like at Changing Futures?
I think we do that in everything. So for me, I want to be, I've got a few people in my life that I secretly thank because they've inspired me to be the person that I want to be, or they've pushed me to be that person that I want to be. And I want Changing Futures to be that.
So how, I don't know, little Darren walks in the door and has got, lacks confidence. How is it, what do you and your team do that encourage little Darren to have more confidence in his life? Like what is it actually that you do? How do you make them feel? How do you act around them?
I would say we all play our part in Changing Futures. So I'm not the be all and end all. We've got other staff members that generally play their role. So, you've got the good cop, bad cop. We've got some that's what they do. They bring out the trust in the students so that they can find what it is that's knocked that confidence. Not necessarily would it be a school teacher that's knocked their confidence, or a parent, or it could be, self-sabotage. Yeah. It could generally be the way that their mind works or what diagnosis they have that leads them to think like that. It's not generally one thing. It could be a series of things. So I do think that in the centre we create trust. You know, you can talk to us. If you want to talk about your past and things like that, that's okay. We can sit there, we can talk about that. And I think that's the crux of where we're able to then put a plan together. So within Changing Futures, we do individual learning plans. So every student's different. We might have 8 students that have all got ADHD, but are all on different medication. So that tells me that they're all different. So we try and treat them as different as they are. And I do think that that's what makes them flourish in their own self. You know, not one student is the same as the others. They're all different.
We've talked about it a few times on here about mainstream school, and you know, mainstream school works for lots of young people, but as you say, it doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm hearing from you is that you create trust, and you create safety, and you create a place where progress is possible.
Yeah.
What do you think mainstream education could learn about creating, you know, building trust and creating a safe space and giving the space for progress in their establishments? And I know this is not knocking mainstream schools, because they do a great job.
Yeah.
You know, probably 70-80% of young people come out at the end and, you know, and are doing great. But it's the small percentage, the guys that are coming to you, or the guys and girls that are coming to you, that are, you know, what do you think that mainstream education could learn from alternative provision?
So the one thing I do want to say is, with mainstream schools and schools in general, there's a lot of red tape for them. So it's not that they don't want to do that, or, you know, teachers, no, I'm not doing that, I'm not going that extra mile. They generally can't. With alternative provisions, it is different. We can go that extra mile because there's not so much red tape, and we don't have to ask and to be able to get one thing, and it is different. However, I would say that not everyone has to fit into that same box. There is different things out there. There is alternative provisions. There is lots more people like myself that do things like this. And that's okay to send students and turn around and say, you know what, I can't handle Jimmy. Our school cannot meet his needs. That's okay to say that and do that. I think at the minute, schools are still gradually coming round to the fact that there is other things out there other than mainstream schools.
Yeah, I guess it's difficult for them because it's also a numbers game, right? So you get paid. People get paid for how many kids are in their school or their provision or whatever it is. So you know, when they're not at school, if they're being, you know, offered out to an alternate provision, that they're not getting the funding from whatever governing body or funding body gives them, whether it's the DFE or whatever, whoever it is. So I guess that's a difficult thing. But what is one moment at Changing Futures that has stopped you in your tracks and really reminded you why you do this? You don't have to say names, by the way. You can just give me, because I know that there are probably daily occurrences where that happens. But give me one specific one.
I would say recently. So recently we've just had the year 11s that have left. And I think that's when we've all sat there and we've all thought, this is exactly the reason why we started it and why we do what we do. Yeah, I mean, I've got some absolutely amazing stories that I could tell you, but you'd have to see them to believe it. I mean, some students that we had that had walked through the door in the beginning, they were hard work, seriously hard work. And they know it, we know it, parents know it, schools know it. It was a real difficult situation. that was a few years ago. If you saw them today, they've left school, they've got a college course, they've got jobs, they've got apprenticeships, they've got so much going for them. And these are students that are young carers, live with nan and granddad. Nan and granddads are so proud, and I'm proud to be part of that,
What you do I was only there for a couple of hours last week, and I met some of your staff members who are actual tradespeople. Mm-hmm. I obviously met you. I met that wonderful lady on the front desk who's just like the best person ever. She's just like makes everyone do the thing that they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then, but is so happy about it too.
Yeah.
She was brilliant. And what I took away from that is, as you say, everybody is very different, and in your line of work, they're even more different. But it seems like you unlock like their superpower, because you see what everyone else sees as a challenge as their superpower, and I love it. Sorry, I get a bit. What you do is great, and what is even better is how you go the extra mile. Now, we were talking about it the other day about the fact that you give them breakfast. And I said, where do you get the funding for that? Well, where do you get the funding for that, Loren?
Well, that comes out my wages.
Yeah. Which just makes the fact that it's just incredible. The fact that you don't just give your time and your investment and all of those things, you actually give your real life, actual money, wages that you earn, to give these young people some porridge or Pop-Tarts or whatever at the beginning of the day. That for me is the extra mile, and that is one of the reasons why I'm so blessed to have you have a conversation with me on the Hodcast.
Oh, thank you.
Tell me a bit about how you just change everything around in your classes so that people can understand what's going on. Because you were trying to teach classes and you didn't have any books to teach the subject. So what did you do in order to make these young people understand the subject matter?
So recently, we've changed our curriculum and we've reinvented our wellbeing books and looked at our maths and our English and things like that. And again, our students aren't normal students that sit in class and will write an essay or do speaking and listening. So we started thinking outside the box. So I created a book. We started creating books so that the students can read them. So as we do when we're younger and we're in reception and we read short stories, and that's how we start to enjoy reading, start reading and learning words. I've got a lot of 15, 16-year-olds that have never picked up a book, can't read. Writing their own name is hard for them, and it's not because they're lazy, it's because they generally cannot do it. So I started creating books, and they are short books and they're short sentences, but they're relatable to our students. So one of them, the first one that's out, Half In, Half Out, it's about a youth club, and there's different students that go to the youth club, but it's, you're half in, you're half out. You've got two choices. You can choose one path, and that's fine, but there is other paths to choose. And I think that's where a lot of kids today generally don't understand that there's more than one. There's more than two. There's lots of different ones, and we don't have to stay as we are. We can evolve and change continually if we want to. That's okay. So yeah, I've created some books, and then off the back of that, the kids will read them. The kids will play games with them. We'll do English lessons. The last one that we done was they had to create a character that fit into the book, but then they had to become the mentor, and they then had to advise the student on what they would do with that specific problem. In maths, we created a game of life. So they each will start off with a house. So whether they're living in mum and dad's house and renting a room, or they've got a studio flat. And then they'll work their way through education and training, paying back their student loans. They'll start off with a smaller job, work their way up, and then the aim of the game is whoever's out of debt with the most assets and the most money wins. So the boys love it, absolutely love it. But that's just a few things that we do. We do a lot of wellbeing stuff. A lot of it is life skills. So we teach construction. A lot of our students, if they stay in construction, they might be employed, but they'll be paying CIS instead. So, or they might be self-employed. So we teach them the difference between being employed and self-employed. You have to do your tax returns when you're self-employed. It's little things like that that we will implement on the kids. So they've got that little bit more life skills, money management. A lot of our students have EHCP plans. So a lot of them will have money management as a target within it. And a lot of our students are 15, 16-year-old boys. Money management is not a thing, you know? They don't have to pay rent or pay for their phone bill or things like that. Or some students that we have generally aren't able to get money. So instead of them fathoming out their own way and maybe it not quite working and them realising at 25 years old, hold on a minute, this isn't working, we start implementing that now. It's not, right, this is what you do with your money. This is how you spend your money. It's more life skills. Do you have a bank account? Do you know how to use your bank account? How do you pay money in? Are you comfortable with that? If I ask most of my students, have they got a bank account? The answer is no. I'm not sure why, but generally, you know, it's they don't have the knowledge on things like that. So it's them type of things that we're trying to create change so that they're knowledgeable when they leave us, you know?
Let me just rewind for a second, because I think you just brushed over what I think is the most incredible thing that you just said. And that is, there was nothing for us. There were no books that they're not able, they've never read a book in their life and they would never pick up a book. So you self-published a book that they could read.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to clarify that for everybody that's watching, because that's no small feat. And you're also in the middle of doing number 2, is that right?
Yeah.
The second, is there going to be like a series of books? And for everyone that's watching again or listening, you can just buy these on Amazon.
Yeah.
And they're, what is it? I think it's like $6.99.
Yeah.
There's one in my basket. My wife, I'm on an Amazon ban at the moment. So when I'm off my Amazon ban, I will be purchasing the book to have a good read. But yeah, and also there wasn't a game that you could play, so you made a game. About it, and I'd love to play that game, but can we buy it? You haven't published that game yet, I guess.
No. So don't get me, that started off as a little game, but the kids absolutely loved it. So every day they'd come back in and ask to replay it. So we started adding more things to it. So it didn't start off where you could have a car or you could buy a car, but now we've created cars so you can buy a car.
And you could tune up your car. And
exactly,
you can,
yeah, so that isn't like ready available. However, we are doing a open day on July the 18th, where them things will be available. So we're going to have lots of schools, lots of different employees, employers that just come and show the students all the different types of jobs that there is out in the world, from the lollipop lady to an accountant and different things. And on there, they will be able to get the resources so they can take them back and they can recreate them if they want, or they can use that. Our new wellbeing books, have you ever heard of the unit award scheme? I think I might have said that to you last time. So that's all life skills. So we've implemented, you can earn up to 60 unit award scheme accredited with AQA just through doing the wellbeing books. We've implemented so that everything all overlaps and you can gain qualifications just by sitting there and going through these wellbeing books, as well as knowledge. And it's, we've got one that's on grooming, gangs and child exploitation. we have students that are between the age of 12 to 16 and sometimes older. They're at a very vulnerable age. So education is key. Understanding certain things, I think that's how people, are deterred away from certain activities.
Some people say it's going above and beyond. What you're talking about is going above and beyond. What do you call it?
Under promising, over delivering.
Love it. I love that. I'm guessing most of the young people or students that are with you probably don't necessarily know your story.
No.
Ins and outs. No, I would assume not.
Did you see how emotional I got?
Yeah, for sure. They must understand though that you're a strong, powerful woman. And do you feel like that makes them trust you more?
Yeah, I do. I think the fact that, we do build confidence up. So there's an element where we have to open our own selves up to them to be able to build their confidence up. I can't just tell you, be confident and be a closed book. I have to explain to you not only how to be confident, but why, how that helped me without, going into the early stages and how I got to this and all them kind of things. It's, I'll sit there and I'll say, when a student turns around and says, well, I can't do this exam and I can't do that, and they generally believe they can't do it, that's where I can step in and say, I haven't got GCSEs. I didn't go to college. I didn't go to university. I dreamt of going university as I got older. But when I was 14, 15, it wasn't even on the table as an idea. I didn't know anyone that had gone university. My mum and dad didn't go university. No one I knew that wasn't in their path. So it definitely wasn't in it for me. So it is teaching the kids that actually there is other ways that you can live your life. You can go back and re-educate yourself if that's what you need to do. If you fail now, doesn't mean you're going to fail in 2, 3, 4 years' time.
How do you lead people? Because that is what you do. Whether you say it is or not, it is what you do. How do you lead people who have been let down by almost every system that they've ever been part of?
So I'd say that's the toughest part. I have parents that generally it breaks my heart when they will explain how they just are not and have not ever received the help that they are desperately needing for their children and for themselves. It's heartbreaking. That is hard. That was definitely an eye-opener for me when I started this job. You want to help everybody. Naturally, I'm a helper. So I want to go to the ends of the earth to sort out your problem. But you can't do that for everybody. You can't do someone else's job that they were supposed to do. All you can do is do your job and let them know that you are there for them no matter what. I've had a parent recently that's generally finding it hard, that side of it, not getting the help that they are crying out for. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop my job and become part of the problem. I will still continue to knock on them doors for that help, regardless. Same with the students. Not every student wants that help when you are wanting to give it to them. And being a child or a student myself that wasn't ready to take the olive branch, you can't force them, but you can be there when they are ready to take the help. You can keep asking. And one day they might, take the help. So I don't think it should stop you from doing your job. I think sometimes for me, that makes me do it that extra bit harder.
Yeah. And what's the difference for you between saving someone and believing in them?
Oh, so someone said to me recently, now I want to get it right word for word, but they said something about, if you're in a hole, I'll give you the rope, but I won't get in with you. Now, I believe everybody can be saved if they want to be saved. Don't think that's my job to save them. I'll always help. I'll always be there. But I think the survival part has to come from them, because that's not a lasting change if you're doing that. You know, as a parent, you want to protect your child from everything bad in the world. But how are they ever going to learn? What are they going to do when they face their first heartbreak? You know, you can't take that pain away from them. People have to learn how to survive. So as much as we want to be that person that, you know, ultimately it's not us. Ultimately it's them. We're just the helper.
Yeah. And I think there's something definitely powerful about that. Certainly the analogy of the hole in the rope, you know, because, when you climb out, you've survived, right? Someone's given you that rope, that you've climbed out of the hole. But then, you know, life isn't really just about surviving either. And, you know, we've talked about this a little bit, and it's really about thriving. And that's what I think that you do at Changing Futures, is give people the opportunity to learn not just how to survive, but how to thrive with their, essentially with their superpower, because that is what it is. And you know, these young people don't fit in the mold that everyone else fits in, but all that does is make them super good at something else. Yeah. Like, I saw the work that some of the young people had done on their plastering. If I'd have known about that, they could have come and plastered my house last weekend. You know what I mean? I just painted we had a little a garage conversion thing, and I just had to paint it yesterday, and I was literally painting it thinking, I could have had those young people in painting this. A, they'd have loved it, and B, I'd have loved it because I didn't have to cut in all the corners and walls, and they'd have done a 400% or 500% better job than I did. Yeah. You know, and you and your team have taught them that, and you say, like, this is my job, but it's obviously not just a job for you, and it's not even a job. It's a vocation. I feel like it's what you were meant to do all along. And, you know, and I feel like, having just met you, and we've only really seen each other for about 3 hours total ever. And, you know, just meeting you, I can tell that your life has brought you to this point. And Gary Staines and I, we're quite into like the stoicism stuff at the moment, and the idea of the obstacle being the way. And actually, for you, that sort of seems like you just take each obstacle and make it that way, and make it better, and don't just survive. You learn to survive, and then you thrive, and then another challenge comes, you survive and you thrive, and another challenge, you survive and you thrive. And now you're giving the opportunity for other people, and you go, do you know what? I had a problem, I survived, and now I'm thriving. Yeah. You know, you have the opportunity to do that too. You know, and we don't have any books for you, so here's a book that I've written, because we need to survive, and now we're going to thrive together in doing this. And we didn't have any resources, so here's a game that we made, and you know, and we didn't have the right qualifications for you all, so here's a qualification that I found that you can do and actually learn. Yeah. Not just having a qualification, but also learning about their own well-being. Yeah. Because that's, you know, and that's what I've learned about you in a very short space of time. So, you know, these young people must absolutely love you, or they will do in about 10 years when they realise, looking back, all of the things that they have that they wouldn't have had if they'd never been to Changing Futures and meeting you and your team. Because your team are absolute legends as well. You know, the plasterer fella who works 4 days for you and then goes and plasters on a Saturday, on a Friday and a Saturday. You know, like, that guy's working 6 days a week. Yeah. And, you know, he's working hard. Yeah. Which I absolutely love. Let's move to sort of let's reflect. We love a reflection. What's the biggest lie people believe about young people in alternate provision? In case you didn't know, in construction, trust is everything. You trust your team to show up, you trust your tools to perform, and when the pressure's on, you trust your supplier to deliver. That's where Grayson Building Products come in. They've been doing this since 1921, and they've built more than just a business. They've built relationships, expertise, and a reputation that is earned, not claimed. With over 50,000 products in stock and a team of specialists who genuinely understand the craft, Grayson is there. Not just when you order, but when things get complex. It's more than just a price. It's partnership. It's peace of mind. If you want a supplier that moves like part of your team, visit grayson.gb.com and see what real service feels like.
That they're just naughty kids. That they are literally just naughty kids, and they've chose the path that they want to be on. I don't generally believe that. Children don't ask for ADHD, autism, dyslexia, dyspraxia, and I might have a child that has all four of them, all rolled into one. And he's expected to, may not necessarily be a mainstream school, it may be a special educational needs school, and they are absolutely brilliant. A lot of them are fantastic. However, that student might need one-to-one. They might need to be outside for longer than they are inside. I don't generally believe that these students are creating their own path and sabotaging their own future. I think they're crying out for people to give them a future, give them a chance. I think that's half the problem. The chances aren't there now for young people that there was when I was younger. I had a paper round at 12. I don't think you can even do that now. I was working in a cafe at 14. I don't think you can even do that now. There's not as many opportunities now as what there was even when I was younger. So I don't think that kids are given enough credit for what they go through nowadays.
It's hard, isn't it? Because we, as a millennial, I don't know, you probably don't sit in the millennial or Gen Z. That's weird, isn't it? I think
I'm just before.
Just like a pre-millennial.
Yeah, I still had dial up on
fair. Yeah, you're definitely a millennial. But they call us like the lazy activists or whatever. Like we'll be, I don't know, putting a smarmy Facebook post out about the fact that someone has done something they shouldn't have on their local residence page or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whereas, sort of Gen Z and younger sort of are actual activists. They go and actually do stuff about the thing that is the problem. They get involved in debates and they get involved in the things that they're annoyed about. And it's really interesting to see that like young people sort of changing and moulding. And I don't know. We've talked about mainstream school. We haven't actually talked that much about SEN schools because I to be honest, I don't know loads about them.
Yeah.
My cousin went to an SEN. He's 30 now, but he went to an SEN school when he was younger. And they did a great work with him. And my nan used to run a minibus business, and she used to pick she used to take kids to an SEN school like locally, and she'd go around and pick like 8 or 10 of them up, put them and they'd get in their minibus and they'd all drive, and I'd sometimes be out on the road like or whatever. I'd be walking to college or whatever, and they'd wave as I went past, or they'd stop and I'd say hi to everyone or whatever, which was really sweet. But they're not necessarily the sort of young people that you're working with in your provision, are they?
No.
Like really complex potential physical needs. But I just love the ethos that you have and the way that you treat every young person as an individual. I think that speaks volumes because they don't necessarily get that anywhere else.
No.
like anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the failures of, and I think as long as we hold these things lightly, I think that is one of the failures of a mainstream school because of the red tape. And, and SEN schools, a lot of the time, your young people are made to go to an SEN school that is miles away from their house. One of my friends is actually in a I won't say too much about it. They're in a legal battle with a council because they want to send their child an hour and a half away from their house to a school.
Right.
So that would be a 3-hour round trip every day just to go to school for a 9-year-old. It doesn't seem like the best option when they could potentially sort of pay someone to come and work in the school that they do go to.
Right,
But as we said, like sort of near the beginning, a lot of it is about funding. And a lot of it is about access to that funding. Let's go back to you. If your younger self at 14 walked into Changing Futures, what would she think?
Oh, I'd like to think she'd love it. I mean, so Changing Futures is predominantly males because obviously it's construction based. But if I walked in there, I'd love what they do. I'd love to be learning some of the things that we're teaching. The wellbeing books, they're based around the students. They are written so that the students are engaged. I mean, even the book, so on the front cover, it's called Urban Style. The language is speaking to the students as opposed to an adult reading it. So I think not only would she enjoy the atmosphere that is within the centre, but she'd enjoy the learning material, she'd enjoy the style of learning, and she'd enjoy the people.
No, wicked. It's weird talking about yourself in third person, isn't it?
It is.
But also kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
What's one thing that you wish more people understood about having a second chance? Because you are arguably the queen of the second, third, fourth, fifth chance. Because you even and working your way up to something. So what do you think? What's the one thing that you wish more people knew about that second chance?
So I actually love psychology. Absolutely love it. And I always say to everybody and anybody that everyone deserves second chances, and that is. Everyone deserves a second chance, no matter what you've done throughout your life. Anybody can change if they want to. I think so. I have a poster in the office, and it says, "I'm not what I think I am. I'm not what you think I am. I'm what you think I am." So we're a perception of a perception.
Wow.
Yeah.
You really are into psychology, aren't you?
I am. So we're a perception of a perception. So sometimes it's not the fact that you're not giving me that second chance. I feel like you're not giving me that second chance. I feel like people need to be more open in second chances are real. Be more open to it. Allow people to be and have that second chance. Sometimes people can be on their path to their second chance and their new life, but some people can't forget about the person that they used to be. So no matter how many chances they take, they will always be that person from before. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You like sort of leave clues of who you are.
Yeah.
And that you're not necessarily who you are. And it's sort of, for me, it goes back to I am who I am when I am on my own.
Yeah.
And there are versions of me that are with other people, but I know who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm not a psychology scholar at all. So, I just listen to a lot of podcasts. But it really interests me, sort of purpose. What do you think your purpose is in in life, like if you had a mission statement, if you had to write a mission statement for your life, what do you think that might read?
So I think mine's helping others, I think. Maybe not just helping, but guiding. I think throughout my life, and people that know me will tell you I've had a lot of shit thrown at me. And I remember distinctly somebody saying to me once, it's all right though, you can handle it. And I remember thinking, no, I can't, you know. But actually I did. You know, I sit here today and actually I handled it. I handled it pretty well. Don't get me wrong, at the time I probably I wasn't handling it well, what I thought anyway. But yeah, I would say that it would be guiding people through lived experience. Like I said before, you know, I've got occupational competency in a lot of different areas that I'd like not to have occupational competency in, but, you know, life happens. And I'm not ashamed of that. In fact, I'm proud of that, because that's made me the person that I am today and will shape me for the person that I'll become in 10, 20 years' time. So, yeah.
I heard a really interesting thing actually just today, where someone was talking about someone giving a talk on the stage and talking to a bunch of people and getting emotional, and the difference between the public sector and the military. Actually, in the public sector, everyone's like, "Oh, just take a minute, take as long as you need," and in the military, they say there's a guy at the back, and him, go on. As in, the difference between some people will go, and this is not a helpful thing. It was Simon Sinek who actually said it on the Modern Wisdom podcast, and they were talking about. I'm probably murdering this story completely, but they were talking about the idea that someone taking a minute is them going to do it on their own. Whereas someone, the major at the back saying, go on, is saying, go on, we're with you. And I feel like that's the difference between what you do and what a lot of other people do. You're not go and sort it out and then come and see me.
Yeah.
You're let's do this together.
Yeah.
We're all different, but go on, we're with you.
Yeah.
Rather than, I'll go take a minute and then come back when you're all right.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what it really, when I listened to that in the car, I thought, do you know what? That is Loren in a nutshell. The idea of, go on, let's do it together.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, if you're struggling with something, being open about it is key.
Yeah.
Not in a pity party, not in that like, oh, woe is me. But if you're struggling with something and you're sort of paralyzed by it, go find someone else who's struggling with it and paralyzed by it too. And together, it's not like, and you're not turning around at the world going, oh yeah, the world's so bad to us. And it's actually going, do you know what? I'm struggling with this. You're struggling with this. Let's struggle through this together.
Yeah.
Because that's for me, that's what a lot of the world is missing at the moment, is that togetherness, that
definitely
working as a team, working as a cohort that you have in your facility. And I feel like that's something you do very, very, very well.
Yeah.
Just from the couple of hours I spent in Changing Futures on Friday, which was really nice. Well, thank you. We have a bit of a closing tradition here, that I ask you who you would want to listen to or watch in the chair that you're sat in right now. So if you could have anyone sit and have a conversation with me in that chair, who would you pick and maybe why?
It would probably be, he works at Changing Futures. My brother.
Okay.
So purely because, again, lived experience, ours are obviously different. He didn't have a baby at 16 like I did. However, I think that's what makes his journey with the students that we have so trusting and so raw because he has lived experience. The boys can come in and talk about all sorts of things, and without them knowing, you know, he knows. So he knows how to deal with the situation. You know, hasn't got all the answers. However, is a very good guide, I would say, to have. And I think, you know, I can be all the people in the world to my students. As I say, a lot of them are male dominated, and being a male, you want another male that can guide you, teach you, help you, but equally empathise with you with certain things that you're going through and understand you. And I feel that he's that person within Changing Futures.
And I can't find a lot about you online. What's your brother's name?
Simon.
Simon. So
Janes.
Simon Janes. Nice. Yes. Well, Simon, we're coming for you. Loren stitched you up.
I know. He's going to... I'm not even going to say it.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. If people want to find out what you're up to, find out what Changing Futures is doing, tell us how we can find you on Tinterwebs.
So we do have a website, www.changefutures.co.uk. We are on Facebook. We are on LinkedIn. On them, though, it is Changing Futures. It does get a little bit confusing, but sometimes when you've got names that are already taken on social media, you have to work with what you're given.
Yeah, for sure.
But
or
we are
buy them because you've got all the money to do that.
Yeah. But we are based in Colchester. And like I mentioned earlier, we've got an open day, Careers Network Day, the 18th of July. It'd be great to have as many employees, employers, anybody really to come and show these students and the other local students what there is, pathways that are available out there. You know, one size doesn't fit all.
Well, thank you. I hope that we will be able to get this out before then. But if we didn't get this out before then, you missed out on the biggest opportunity of your life. So you best go on the internet and find out about Changing Futures or changefutures.co.uk.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you so much for giving up your time today. It's been incredible. What an amazing conversation.